Amber Heard, Blake Lively is suing her It Ends With Us co-star and director Justin Baldoni. Now, this lawsuit comes after he filed a defamation suit against the New York Times after Blake Lively filed with some civil rights board in a complaint that was supposed to be kept private but somehow leaked to the New York Times. We all know how that actually happened. And from there, they've engaged in sort of this battle for public opinion to be on their side. The question is, where does the truth lie? 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute, going for a ride down the side. Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Berry. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. When it comes to Hollywood celebrities, everyone knows that I like to make fun of them, that I like to mock them, and it is a lot of fun for me because I consider it punching up, right? These are billionaires in some cases, and they often throw hissy fits, like with the SAG strike, where the Film Actors Guild went on strike because they wanted all these assurances and, of course, more money. But this one's a little bit different. This is a clear case of he said, she said. And I have a feeling the truth is somewhere in the middle. So, for those of you who don't know, basically, It Ends With Us is this drama film, and it's based on a book by Colleen Hoover about a woman who marries this man who turns out to be harmful to her, and she eventually meets another person that she starts to fall in love with. Now, this being a film about this thing, Justin Baldoni, the director of the film and the star, or one of the stars, I should say, he bought the rights to the book and he's good friends with Hoover. Where things get muddled is when the movie started to go into the publicity phase, people were noticing that Blake Lively, who plays Lily Bloom, the protagonist in the film, she was kind of taking a different approach. Baldoni was going on and talking about helping women who were victims of domestic abuse and harmful partners. He was going on and saying, hey, I want these women to go out there and to show, yes, we see that dark side, but there's also hope. Now, Blake Lively was engaged in a little bit different campaign, and judging by her version of the publicity, one would think that this was kind of a romantic comedy. She would dress in these really flowery outfits. She would call them florals. So the ladies go out there and go to the theaters and dress in your florals. And anytime the topic of domestic abuse would come up, she would kind of shy away from it and she would change the subject. I remember I watched one interview she did where she started talking about people wearing diamonds in their teeth. How Hollywood elite could you possibly get? And they also did this weird thing where they were trying to create a Barbenheimer. So remember when Oppenheimer, the biopic about, well, Oppenheimer came out, and then Barbie came out at the same time, and they were kind of in this battle over it, and people were calling it Barbenheimer. They were trying to do the same thing with It Ends With Us and Blake Lively's husband's new movie, Deadpool and Wolverine. Ryan Reynolds would show up to interviews. He, his mother, and Hugh Jackman all appeared in this interview with Blake Lively's other co-star, who plays the other romantic interest that she gets later in the movie. And they did like this really weird, awkward thing where Ryan Reynolds was showing him inappropriate pictures of his rear. I mean, it was really dumb. It didn't make sense with what the movie was going. Not only that, she was also promoting like new outfits, hair care products. Even Hoover kind of got in on this by promoting a makeup product. And also, for some reason, Blake Lively also made a bunch of mixed drinks for the movie, and one of them was named after the abusive spouse in the film. It was really bizarre. When all this is going out, people started to look more into Blake Lively's past, and they were finding really strange things. So she had done an interview with a European reporter where the reporter basically complimented her on her baby bump, and Blake Lively sort of had a meltdown about it and was very rude. And it turns out that reporter had struggled with infertility, and it gave people a bad taste in their mouth. Well, as the publicity kind of turned, people were finding more things out. Like it started to leak that she was a big diva on set, that she was trying to kind of take over directing it. She had forced an executive producer role onto it. And more were coming out, and it kind of became a Blake versus Justin thing. To get ahead of this, that's when she filed this labor dispute with, I think, the California Civil Rights Board. And then almost immediately, the New York Times published an article. Well, Justin Baldoni is suing the New York Times because he's saying that they took things out of context, that they didn't give him enough time. And he's saying this is defamatory and a violation of my privacy because they also doxed two of the people involved with Justin Baldoni. I hate the press. And it seems like Baldoni brought some receipts. So one of the things that Lively kind of suggested was that he just walked into her trailer while she was breastfeeding her newborn. Baldoni actually produced a tweet where Lively invited him to the trailer and even mentioned that she was pumping. So, it's all this thing. And there's more stuff like this. Now, I'm going to read you a tweet thread from Ari Jacobs. And the reason I'm reading hers is because she had sued the New York Times for defamation as well. And so I take her word a little bit more as an expert on this. So buckle up, because this is a wild ride as she goes through the Baldoni lawsuit, basically, and she touches on a few other things within the drama. I'll also have a link to this thread in the description of the video. Justin Baldoni is suing the New York Times, which hasn't reportedly lost a libel case since the 1960s. As someone who's also sued the New York Times, here's what stands out. Texts show Baldoni's told his team not to attack Blake Lively, and he claims the list of demands is 100% fabricated. Ryan Reynolds allegedly lost it on Baldoni in a meeting because Baldoni wouldn't apologize for things he says never happened. The complaint basically says a Sony exec called it the most unhinged meeting of their 40-year career. Baldoni's complaint says Lively's 30-point no more list is completely fabricated. He never saw it, never signed off on it, and says it was only added to her CRD filing to make him look guilty. The constant no more phrasing designed to imply that these things had already happened when he says they hadn't. Baldoni claims Lively hijacked the marketing, ditching the domestic violence message. He says he was sidelined at the premiere, stuck in the basement with his team while Lively and her crew had the spotlight. Imagine working 5 years on a film only to be barred from your own after party. Now, side note for this, Megyn Kelly actually interviewed Baldoni's attorney, and he played a recording that seemed to verify this, where Baldoni is telling the story very tearfully to two friends of his and how his family was there and being supportive as well as members of his team. Continuing on with Ari Jacobs' thread, the lawsuit claims Baldoni didn't even know Ryan Reynolds rewrote parts of the script until Blake casually dropped it during a red carpet interview. Imagine finding out the iconic rooftop scene was ghostwritten by her husband at the premiere, and Blake allegedly running her own production schedule, rewriting her lines and other characters on the fly. Daily. The lawsuit says this wasn't creative genius, it was chaos. Entire scenes delayed, budget stretched, crew scrambling, Hollywood's favorite couple rewriting and running the show allegedly behind everyone's back. Yikes. In Baldoni's lawsuit against the New York Times, he said he didn't find out about the Ryan Reynolds rewrite until Blake Lively revealed it at the red carpet premiere, and that kind of makes Ryan Reynolds a scab, as another YouTuber pointed out that this was while the writer's strike was going on. So Ryan Reynolds was kind of a scab, which more power to you. I'm against unions and strikes and all that. So more power to him in that regard. But doing it behind Baldoni's back, that's kind of sleazy. Anyway, continuing on. The lawsuit claims Baldoni was accused of fat shaving Lively because, wait for it, he asked her trainer how much she weighed. Why? Because he needed to safely perform a physically demanding lift for a scene. Apparently, this harmless and reasonable question got relayed back to Lively, who then allegedly had Reynolds berate Baldoni in front of the cast during a meeting at their penthouse. Awkward. And it didn't stop there. Lively refused to do the lift scene even after it had been rehearsed with a stunt double, and reportedly threatened to quit the production altogether unless Baldoni bowed to her demands. The lawsuit suggests that this entire ordeal was manipulated to make Baldoni look bad, while Lively leveraged her power to dominate the production. Blake Lively's promo strategy for a domestic violence movie? Grab your friends, wear your florals, and fit some biz. The lawsuit claims this marketing disaster triggered the backlash, not some master plan by Baldoni's team. WHO stats show 55% of domestic violent cases involve alcohol. Promoting your alcohol brand alongside a movie about abuse, a choice was made. Critics didn't need Baldoni's help to call that out. Baldoni's team texted, "We had nothing to do with this. The backlash against Lively, allegedly organic. Sometimes tone-deaf marketing does all the heavy lifting." Media headlines drag Lively's press tour as shallow, tone-deaf, and disrespectful to survivors. Baldoni, meanwhile, focused on raising awareness and providing resources. These things is not like the other. The lawsuit doesn't stop at floral promo fails, it points out that old videos of Blake being not so nice or downright cringe resurface, adding fuel to the backlash. Organic, allegedly, avoidable, also allegedly. Blake's PR headache wasn't just about her making marketing flops. According to the lawsuit, past interviews and clips where she came off as mean or out of touch came back to haunt her. The internet never forgets, apparently. Baldoni's team says they didn't need to orchestrate a smear campaign because the backlash was already blown up by her own actions, old videos, questionable promo choices, and all. The lawsuit drags Blake's publicist, Leslie Sloan, into the spotlight, pointing out her ties to Harvey Weinstein. As someone who knows Rose McGowan personally, I've seen firsthand the kind of ruthless PR games teams like that can play. Meanwhile, Baldoni's team, the Swifties were baited with claims about Scooter Braun connected with the PR team. They also worked with Johnny Depp, so of course Amber Heard supporters entered the chat. Let's be clear, both sides are guilty of guilt by association tactics, and it's straight out of the Hollywood scandal playbook. Everyone's throwing punches and no one's playing clean. Ari, you are 100% right about that. The lawsuit disputes Blake Lively's claim that a home birth video shared by Heath was pornographic. Heath is Baldoni's business partner. It says the video, with consent from Heath's wife, was meant to prep for a birthing scene. The difference in framing is striking. Blake's allegations about Baldoni entering her trailer uninvited while she was breastfeeding. Now, I mentioned this earlier. The lawsuit says that she actually invited him, as shown in text, to work out their lines while she was pumping. Definitely a new angle to consider. The New York Times claims Baldoni crossed the line with improvised kissing and sex life discussions. The lawsuit flips that narrative. Blake refused to meet with the intimacy coordinator, leaving Baldoni to play messenger. Imagine hiring an intimacy coordinator only to have your co-star ghost them. Baldoni, per the lawsuit, met alone, passed notes, and worked around the chaos, all while the New York Times spun it as something sinister. This section of the lawsuit accuses the Times of misrepresenting the conflict between Lively and Baldoni as part of a smear campaign. Instead, it claims Lively's erratic behavior caused the drama. Editors barred from reviewing cuts. Baldoni alleges that Sony restricted editors from even looking at Lively's cuts. He called it unprecedented, but claimed he'd take the high road. Organic backlash. The text suggests that negative press about Lively wasn't planted but arose organically from her actions. The PR team notes she doesn't have to have a good reputation, with TikTok users supposedly driving much of the backlash. Beautiful baby analogy. Baldoni likened the film to a beautiful baby they made together, acknowledging Lively's control had shifted the tone. The team strategized to let Lively make her changes but quietly continue their vision. The complaint frames Baldoni's side as attempting to minimize conflict while alleging Lively's side leveraged the media to control the narrative. And then Ari adds, wait, Baldoni, the director, wasn't even allowed to see Lively's final cuts of his own film. Sony allegedly shut him out completely. Imagine being iced out of your own project while the chaos unfolds around you. I don't know about you, but my text would be a lot spicier if someone hijacked something I spent 5 years pouring my soul into. Baldoni's team was out there saying we'll take the high road while allegedly being banned from seeing edits of his own movie. Wild. Justin Baldoni says in a text, whole thing is pretty cruel and intense. These texts hit close to home, watching someone pour years of their life into a project only to be iced out and left to pick up the pieces feels personal. I've been there, first mover in an industry, doing the work, and then watching lies rewrite the narrative. It's brutal. After Blake's filing, some speculated Baldoni leaned into the DV theme for clout or ego, but these texts, they tell a different story. Even while allegedly sidelined or shut out of his own premiere, he stayed focused on the film's purpose. Centering survivors and their stories says a lot. According to the lawsuit, this isn't the end, it's the beginning. Baldoni and Wayfarer, that's Baldoni's production company, say they're holding all the bad actors responsible. If you thought this was messy, they're making it clear more suits are coming. And this is the final tweet in the thread. If you made it this far, thanks for sticking with me. And then Ari talks about her own lawsuit that she had against the New York Times. I highly recommend you go and read this thread. So what do I think about this? I think that this is just a mess and massive egos are at play here. This is something that got way out of control because of a narcissistic actress and her narcissistic husband and a director who's trying to hold on to his vision. And maybe they both made a lot of mistakes. But I will say, Justin Baldoni is bringing receipts. He's the one who's providing text messages, emails, recordings, screenshots, whatever the court is looking for, he has them. Lively was putting in not whole conversations and is making a lot of assumptions and she's making a lot of accusations, but they don't have merit. Now, that doesn't mean they didn't happen, but if you're accused of a crime, the accuser has to provide evidence. It can't just be all accusation based. And I don't really think Blake Lively wants Amber Heard to enter the chat, which Amber Heard has. She's made a comment on this. All of Amber Heard's supporters are running to support Blake Lively, and this is a bad look. So if Blake Lively is actually a victim in this, she needs to say, "Whoa, Amber Heard, get away from me." That is sound advice. As far as what it looks like to me, I have to be honest, Baldoni is bringing more evidence. Just from my point of view, I'm not a lawyer, no legal advice. I am just saying, from my own eyes, Justin is providing more receipts. He is bringing in more. Lively has nothing but her smug attitude and a lot of accusations, but maybe she will provide receipts. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, this is looking like it could be a Me Too gasp, trying to cling on to that after it died with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. That's what it appears like to me. And all of these Hollywood celebrities who are playing fast and loose with all of these accusations, all they do is hurt real domestic abuse victims. And I'm not saying Blake Lively is one of them yet. I'm not saying Justin Baldoni is all correct yet. Like I said, there could just be some conflict that got out of hand and a bunch of egos bumped into each other, and that's what led to this. We don't know yet, but I guarantee you, whatever side comes out, all of this just appears like it's going to be another debacle that is only going to hurt real victims. If you liked that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment, tell me what you think, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast, and consider becoming a channel member. Before I go any further, I want to thank Ari Jacobs, who I contacted to read her thread. She gave me permission, and I want to thank her. Go and give her a follow on X and wherever you can find her, and also read that thread. And she's been posting more updates about the case, so definitely check those out. If you would be so kind, head on over to my website, StudioJakeMedia.com. There are no ads, and you can sign up for free through your email or through the WordPress app. I post all kinds of commentary there, like reviews on film, anime, television, and so much more. So definitely head on over there and check it out. If you want to support what I do, head on over to my locals community. The link is in the description of the video. You can send me tips for articles that I write, or you can become a monthly subscriber. I post exclusive articles just for locals, so definitely check those out. I also exclusively publish my short stories there. Speaking of stories, check out my novels. I've got the supernatural thriller Cacophony. I've got the high fantasy series, The Seven Royals, Part 1 and Part 2 of the Dark Army trilogy, All Good Things and Breaking the Stars, respectively. Book 3 is on its way, so stand by. You're in for an incredible ride. Last but not least, check out my newest fantasy novella, Blessed Child. It is about courage under fire, it is life affirming, and it is an adventure you don't want to miss. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.